Imagine this. In a courtroom drama straight out of a political thriller, federal prosecutors are hinting at a bold strategy to remove James Comey's primary defense attorney from the case. This isn't just any legal maneuver. It's sparking heated debates about justice, conflicts of interest, and whether politics is overshadowing the law. But here's where it gets controversial. Could this be an attempt to weaken Comey's defense, or is it a legitimate ethical concern? Stick around, because the details are about to unfold in a way that might surprise you. On October 20th, 2025, at around 10:45 a.m., prosecutors in the Department of Justice dropped a bombshell in a new court filing for James Comey's criminal case. They suggested they might push to disqualify Patrick Fitzgerald, Comey's lead attorney, citing a potential conflict of interest. Specifically, they pointed to Fitzgerald's alleged role in sharing information with the media on Comey's behalf after President Donald Trump fired the former FBI director back in 2017. This, they argued, could create a conflict and disqualification issue that needs careful scrutiny. To put it simply for those new to legal jargon, a conflict of interest happens when an attorney's actions or past involvements might compromise their ability to represent their client fairly. In this instance, prosecutors urged U.S. District Judge Michael Nachmanoff to quickly establish a process for all parties to examine evidence that's currently quarantined, meaning it's sealed off and not immediately accessible. This quarantined material involves communications between Comey and several attorneys, and it might include privileged exchanges, which are protected conversations that can't be used against a client under attorney-client privilege. Fitzgerald hasn't taken this lying down. He's already voiced strong concerns about how the government is managing this process, firing off pointed questions like why prosecutors didn't figure out in advance how to handle these potentially sensitive communications before charging Comey. For beginners wondering what that means, indictment is like a formal accusation, and here, Comey faces charges of making false statements to Congress in 2020. He pleaded not guilty earlier this month to 1 count of false statements and 1 count of obstructing a congressional proceeding, all tied to his testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee during that year, amid ongoing debates about the FBI's Russia probe. And this is the part most people miss. Critics argue these charges stem from a broader pattern of what they call Trump's campaign of retribution against his political adversaries. For example, think of it like a boss firing someone and then later seeking revenge through the legal system. On the flip side, Vice President J.D. Vance has publicly stated that any such prosecutions are driven by law and not by politics, suggesting they're purely about enforcing justice. This creates a fascinating debate. Is this accountability in action, or is it selective targeting based on personal grudges? It's a tension that runs through the entire case. Fitzgerald, who shares a close friendship with Comey and boasts an impressive resume as a former Justice Department official, now turned elite white-collar lawyer, is gearing up for more legal battles. He's planning to challenge the validity of President Trump's choice for the prosecutor overseeing the case, Lindsey Halligan, by arguing she was unlawfully appointed as the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. This appointment came just 4 days before she presented the case to a grand jury, a group of citizens who review evidence and decide if there's enough to proceed with charges. Sources indicate that career prosecutors raised objections, yet the grand jury still indicted Comey on 2 out of 3 counts related to his 2020 testimony about the Russia investigation and alleged leaks of classified info to journalists. Adding fuel to the fire, Fitzgerald intends to contend in upcoming filings that the prosecution itself is vindictive, meaning it's motivated by a desire for revenge rather than justice, and directly encouraged by Trump. He plans to cite Trump's history of public calls for Comey to be imprisoned, including direct social media posts urging Attorney General Pam Bondi to act now against Comey and others. Legal experts agree that proving vindictive prosecution is incredibly tough, requiring a high standard of evidence, but they note Comey's situation could serve as a rare test case. After all, Trump reportedly removed a senior prosecutor who resisted charging Comey, which might illustrate how political pressure can influence legal decisions. What do you think? Is this a fair move to protect the integrity of the trial, or does it reek of political interference designed to silence a critic? Could Fitzgerald's disqualification tip the scales in an unfair way, or is it necessary to avoid any hint of impropriety? Share your opinions in the comments below. Do you side with the prosecutors, defend Comey's team, or see a middle ground? Let's discuss.